Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Let me introduce HK Pradhan, sir. He's expert in finance and economics, and he's from Jamshedpur, XLRI. So now I would request you, sir, to kindly go ahead and say a few words. And
Thank you. Thank you. I'm thankful to the organizers and specifically Abhishek Kumarji for inviting me to appear briefly in this summit. I hope in future we should be able to join in the physical form in Patna. And the 8th summit, I think we have a successful summit for the last 7, and this is the 8th one. And I think as someone like me who works in the research side of the entrepreneurship and specifically the finance, the entrepreneurship finance, and I think there's a very critical role of this kind of summit and get together, get the innovators, the entrepreneurs, the micro entrepreneurs to a platform to discuss, debate, get informed, and also, in many ways, information makes a lot of difference to entrepreneurs. And if anything had constrained the entrepreneur skill in India, the entrepreneurship in India, it was lack of information, lack of access to information, access to finance, access to business development services, marketing of products, the logistics and infrastructure supports, supply chain in different parts of supply chain. And I think Abhishek and his team has been doing excellent work in bringing together many events annually. It's not just this event, several events. And so there are a couple of things I thought I must highlight. One important thing is that there is a large number of enterprises, and particularly in the micro sectors, small sectors, who are unregistered sectors, unregistered enterprises. And I think more we bring them to a formal system, to registered enterprises, or register under the trade registration system of the Reserve Bank and National Stock Exchange that have done, and more formal process, formalize this, the more benefit would flow into this sector. This is I think very important. And the second is that the role of training, the role of skill building, the role of information sharing, and I think they are extremely important. And our states like Bihar and Jharkhand is where I am located, at Jamshedpur, XLRI, and state of Odisha, for example, the region, I think it's predominantly the lowest of the pyramid. That's the micro entrepreneurs, the small entrepreneurs. They predominate close to 90% of the ecosystem. And so therefore, the more formal system we bring in, I think that helps a lot. And the Bihar, a state which has recently in the COVID period had seen the migration back to the state. And I think I have no data, but I see data produced by many external agencies that many of the migrants have stayed back or are without jobs and would have a tendency to fall back to poverty. So therefore, I think as association like us, and working with governments and working with international organizations, civil society, I think we can create this, kind of awareness as to how we engage the migrants, the unemployed, the youth, the micro entrepreneurs, and particularly enterprise at the very lowest of the pyramid, like Kirana store, or or the small enterprises who are supplying to medium or smaller ones in the supply value chain. And I think how to bring them to the system, formal system, and eventually to link them with credit. So therefore, some of these are very important. The third thing which I would say is the digital friendly environment creating. So today there is a lot of digital push has happened. The fintech companies have geared up. In many ways, they are supporting these small enterprises, not only just in terms of information, but payment systems, receivable managements, working capital arrangements, including credit scoring, credit information of these enterprises, counseling, and all of this I think would help a lot if we bring in more micro entrepreneurs into the digital space. And that requires a significant amount of training, handholding, support, including financing. So that's important, and I'm sure most you are aware that that there is a listing arrangement which has happened in the Bombay Stock Exchange and the National Stock Exchange of small and medium enterprises, MSME space. Now, those who are better among the entrepreneurs, those who are, and I'm sure that SEBI is now talking of even creating an ecosystem for the startups. And social ventures. So I think the more we get into the formal system, even graduating them eventually to list, the enterprises larger among the MSME space, I think that also helps more visibility and more transparency and more kind of reporting to have access to markets and finance. So I think the other important thing that I thought to mention, I had shared a report with Abhishek ji. I think that was purely on financing, and if it is shared among the participants, I'm sure that would be very useful. See, I think the criticality of finance must be seen. In any enterprises, I think the finance is the lever, the finance is the lifeblood. We need to create an environment in which access to finance of these enterprises improve. Now, there are a lot of agencies in India and they are scattered over all states. But again, there you see states like Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, or, and part of maybe Delhi areas where the majority of money goes but states like Bihar, Jharkhand, and Odisha, MSME access to finance have been extremely limited. So that I think how to bridge this finance gap. And so you have agencies like the public sector banks, private banks, foreign banks. You have in the NBFC space, non-bank finance companies. Now these banks and NBFCs have been providing working capital loans, term loans for fixed assets. Now the recent entry to the banking systems are the small finance banks, the NBFC MFIs, the microfinance institutions who are coming under the NBFC arms are providing working capital loans, term loans, yes, small microfinance loans, or small ticket size loans, particularly by the small finance banks. But what we are looking at now in the emerging areas which are coming up and particularly for the startup systems are this venture capital funding, private equity, and peer-to-peer lending, the lending in a crowdfunding space. Now, I think these familiarities have to be improved. The information gap has to be reduced here. This is where a lot of training and a lot of information build up is necessary. And is there a problem there? Is there a problem in my voice or something? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible. Okay. Actually, the Honorable Minister of Industries is going to join. That's why there is some disturbance. Yes, sir.
No, please. So let me know, and I will stop when this is necessary. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think the role of this national institutions, the development finance institutions like SIDBI, the Mudra Bank, I think they have a much bigger role to bring in this venture capital, private equity, which they are in. So I would even say that how closely we collaborate with these institutions to bring in this venture capital, peer-to-peer lending, private equity financing, and getting the refinancing from these national level institutions like SIDBI and Mudra Bank. Equity infusion is very important for the startups because the risk capital is the key. And there we need a lot of support from these national level institutions. The last thing I would emphasize is the role of fintech. Today, payment solutions, digital payments, crowdfunding, and person-to-person lending, I think they have been extremely facilitated by the fintech companies. And there are a large number of fintech companies which are active, and so they have to be, I think that helps a lot in leveraging the financing, the blockchain, what you say. So I would like to say here the landscape of the MSME financing follows a multi-agency approach with the direct lending by commercial banks, private banks, and there are refinancing arrangements, and then there are private capital, venture capital, equity infusion by the newly emerging financing sources. And I think we need to look at finance, because the more finance, the more capacity building, more business development services, the MSME growth can be more steered up. So I think these are some of the points which I thought in the very short time that you have, I could make, but I would be happy if there are any questions asked in the, and there is a plethora of government policies and incentives, and specifically during the COVID has been provided. For example, this, I think I'm sure you must be familiar, the priority sector guidelines for MSME, the scheme for interest rate subventions, the credit guarantee. I think credit guarantee is that's a very important, where the given by the banks for the loans up to I think it's a limited amount, and the discounting of the trade receivables arrangements, that's I think has bridged a lot of gap, because it goes almost for the SMEs found to be going 100 days to collect the receivables from the suppliers. And I think this trade receivable arrangements with the Ministry of Finance is promoting quite significantly, is very important. So a lot of initiatives, and including the government at the center launching recently the Stand Up India Udyam Mitra scheme of the SIDBI and PMMOI. And all of these have definitely strengthened our ecosystem of financing. So I think my suggestion is that the more we bring in the information, more we empower with the kind of processes involved, I think that helps many startups, many new entrepreneurs or the youth to come and avail these facilities. And let me just add one more, the very important, that the emergency credit line guarantee scheme that's given 100% credit guarantee by the National Credit Guarantee Trust Company to all member lending institutions such as banks and BFCs. I think they're very useful, extending working capital to the MSMEs in this period. We have no data which is available on the amount of the moratorium period, the extent of moratorium availed, and the restructuring availed. And I think that would bring the kind of credit stress that is being felt in the Bihar entrepreneurs, in the total system. I think if that data is captured, that would be very useful. I think these are my few points, though given the time I could observe, but I will be happy if there are any questions. Thank you very much, Abhishek ji, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.